This is the deal. This is the Saudi-Russia military contract. This was signed, look at this, August 24th of 2021. We have been speaking about this ever since that date. Why I bring that up is because that's why I truly believe we've got a nuclear sub, Russian sub off East Coast right now, and we've got some Russian ships out there as well too. Why? Because it's always been about the US dollar. And so now Russia is upholding, listen really closely, Russia's upholding their contract with the Saudis right now. What a coincidence that 2 days on Pentecost, on the 11th, which was yesterday of June, 2 days before that, the Saudis refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. 2 days ago, it's over. 50-year contract ended, and Saudis refused to sign it. So why else would Russia have its subs and military equipment off the East Coast saying, don't you touch or go after Saudis for not re-signing that contract? That is probably the only reason they are there right now saying, don't you dare go after Saudis, because we have a military agreement. I just showed you it, and it is signed with the Saudis, who just 2 days ago refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. So now the US dollar's got no petro, it's run out of gas, it is literally a fiat-based money system that's about to blow up. And what did Pastor Dave just say? Other nations now refusing to even trade in the US dollar, and you haven't seen anything yet.
Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
Welcome all of His Glory Nation, from east to west to north to south. Welcome to today's Take 5. All right, it's time to bring on Andrew and Bo for what's new in the world and what's new with silver and gold. And as we speak, the silver is spiking back up again today. And when I saw you, Bo, you had a smile on your face in Detroit that you know this event's coming. This, what we said, beach day for Andrew is we're this close. Last thing I'll say about that, I text you, Bo. Multiple sources say this next 2 weeks, they believe that this is going to be the crashing of the market.
Yeah, I would say start with this. I honestly think we should title the show The Final Countdown. Like everything we've talked about, I truly believe we're at a moment in time where everything's about to start. The prophets have spoken, several of them I know for a fact have spoken that specifically the event that we've been talking about, the wealth transfer. Again, the wealth transfer is necessary. Why? Because the global elite have all the money. Okay, God needs to rip it away from them because they have all the money. Look what they're doing with it. Look what they're doing with it, right? So this is a moment in time where it has to flip. The tables must flip. And, we're going to see biblical things manifest, which specifically is the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. This year will go down. as one of the greatest years in human histories and one of the scariest years in human history, depending on which side of the fence you were sitting on. So thank you, Pastor Dave, for having me back, and pleasure seeing you this past weekend.
Yeah, it was great seeing you both. We're all in Motown in Detroit. So, Andrew, I'll kick it back to you. Talk about what you're hearing from your world. We know it's imminent, and people are going to, once this happens, people are going to jump on the train quickly, but there's still time to buy right now, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's great to see silver holding at about $30 an ounce. This is a really, really, really big deal. And coming into 2024, at our company and other companies, we had a large amount of people that were liquidating because they had committed a lot into gold and silver and just had needs and emergencies. Some people lost their jobs, but with silver holding at about 30, we're not seeing a lot of people want to let go of their silver. And I love to see that because precious metals are supposed to be a minimum 2 to 5 year hold. And I've really been trying to explain that to people, that if you let it, if you hold this investment for a long period of time, it will pay off. And that's what some of our clients over the past 5-10 years are starting to see now.
Well, I heard that firsthand from our booth. I went to sign some books at our booth, and I probably had 7 or 8 people come up to me and say, you know, we bought when we first we got it from Andrew 2 years ago. We're so at peace that we did that. Now is the time we're looking at adding a little bit more and incremental.
Well, what you want to consider, too, with regards to precious metals is, like we always talk about, they're an insurance policy that lets you sleep great at night. That's the whole point of this, right? We've said, and I basically tried to get the world to understand that the financial world, the financial system that we use today, please listen, is a complete and utter fraud. They create money out of thin air. They've been doing it for 111 years now. And it's so obvious now with the pricing of everything. You're seeing things explode in price. You're seeing groceries explode in price. You're seeing home values explode in price. The only reason this is happening is because they're making money out of thin air, and the ocean of money is just expanding. That's why it's called making money. That's what they're doing. They're making money. And so the insurance policy on all of that is God's money. Haggai 2 verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord, when God flips the financial table. So I'm going to tell you, the financial tables are going to flip, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next year, but it's not. It's like soon. Okay, but whenever this thing goes down, you are going to be so happy that you are holding God's money, because at some point God is going to say, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this, because that's what this is. This is just craziness going on in the world right now. And, you know, we're literally at a very important day today. Today is the 12th, which is really Pentecost. Okay, so we're at Pentecost right now, and look what happened yesterday. Like, we're seeing military stuff going off just on the East Coast right now with a Russian submarine. You've got warships. So we are at a wild moment in time, and I really, really pray and hope people have listened to what we've been talking about, because it's going down. It's going to happen. And like we talk about, you know, silver shot up to $32. I've said on podcasts before, when it breaks 27, it's going to shoot up to 32. It did exactly that. And then I said, watch, 32 is a roof. It's going to hold that. And look what it did. It backed off, and it's bouncing around 30 right now. Double check with Andrew, but that's what it's doing. It's bouncing around 30. So 30 now becomes more of a floor. And then when it reverses, forget about it. This thing's going to rip the $60, $70. And that's what we've coined the phrase, you know, Andrew's beach day. It's not that Andrew's going to the beach. It's just that not Andrew, but every single gold dealer in the United States and probably the world will shut all of their doors, because this event that goes down was, no one's ever seen it before. And they won't know what to do. We've seen it happen 2-3 years ago when one weekend silver exploded and they shut down all trading. The same thing's going to happen this time, but this one's going to be biblical. So I truly hope people have listened, because we are really, really close to this thing going down.
Well, you go back 2 years ago. We've been talking, the three of us have been on for 2 years educating people. And we said this day was coming. And look what's happened since 2 years. None of the stuff that I'm about to say happened 2 years ago. We got BRICS nations that are about 70% of silver and gold in the world and adding. They're in a meeting in Russia today. You have the petrodollar completely cut off for the first time in 50 years. Today, Russia Moscow Stock Exchange officially suspends all trading in U.S. dollars and euros. It's happening.
Yep. This isn't the conspiracy theory type talk that it would have looked like 2 years ago when we first started talking about it. Even 5-10 years ago, if we had heard that Russia was going to team up with China and lead a bunch of other countries to de-dollarize the globe, it would have sounded pretty far-fetched, but it is happening, and cash is dead. It's dying. It's not completely dead, but it's dying right now, and not just the dollar. It's all fiat currency in the whole world, because we're definitely going digital. Anytime I go into the bank, all I do is just sit and watch everything, because the line's always long. They're always understaffed, and I like to sit and just watch everything. And really, the narrative is that they are going to completely digital. They don't want you going into the branch. They want you to use your phone to pay for everything. And it sounds great, because then you don't have to hold these dollar bills or these coins that are dirty in your hands. But the thing is, you also lose quite a bit of freedom. And that's what this country is based on, is that we have freedom. Well, if it's a programmable digital currency that's gold backed, then that means that our purchases are being looked at and can be declined based on whatever is going on in the world. So if you're filling up your gas guzzler 3 times a week, it can be shut off if they want you to go electric, and that's just one area. So it's we really have to push back against this.
Exactly, and I can confirm from a third source over the weekend, which I mentioned, I think the last time you guys were on, that there is I don't know if you call it a law. It's got to be a law. We're going gold back when President Trump comes back. No ifs, ands, or buts. It will be gold back.
Yep.
We have to go back to the gold standard, because the United States was founded under God. And right now we're using a monetary system that's not founded under God. They took it out. We went off the gold standard. And so we're at this is, read scriptures, please. It says, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year. We're seeing all of these things, man. Think about with the magnitude of this. Roe v. Wade at 49 years. We're at 50 years petrodollar contract. Now, this is incredible, because this past Sunday, so the day after the event, on the 9th, we have talked about this for at least 2 years on our show. What have we said? We've said, because of this one contract, this is the deal. This is the Saudi-Russia military contract. This was signed, look at this, August 24th of 2021. We have been speaking about this ever since that date. Why I bring that up is because that's why I truly believe we've got a nuclear Russian sub off East Coast right now, and we've got some Russian ships out there as well too. Why? Because it's always been about the U.S. dollar, and so now Russia is upholding. Listen really closely. Russia's upholding their contract with the Saudis right now. What a coincidence that 2 days on Pentecost, on the 11th, which was yesterday of June, 2 days before that, the Saudis refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. That contract was signed on June 9th, and we've stated this before since January of this year. And now everybody's talking about it, but it's still, it's not on mainstream media. But that contract was signed on June 9th, 1974. 2 days ago, it's over. 50-year contract ended, and Saudis refused to sign it. So why else would Russia have its subs and military equipment off the East Coast saying, don't you touch or go after Saudis for not re-signing that contract? That is probably the only reason they are there right now, saying, don't you dare go after Saudis, because we have a military agreement. I just showed you it, and it is signed with the Saudis, who just 2 days ago refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. So now the US dollar's got no petro, it's run out of gas, it is literally a fiat-based money system that's about to blow up. And what did Pastor Dave just say? Other nations now refusing to even trade in the US dollar, and you haven't seen anything yet.
It is truly biblical. You know, I wanted you to talk about the Babylon system. We talk about the Babylon system. I think we do it glibly. How evil this system truly is, and God is exposing this system, and this is a good thing that we're going back to the silver and gold and God's standard.
Right. So the Babylon system, you have to step back the 40,000 foot view. How'd they build it? They built it with a Federal Reserve note. You see, Babylon was built with the money. That's why Christ walked into the temple, flipped the tables on the money changers, because he knew that their love for money for the next 2,000 years would literally cause chaos globally. And now, because we've got high-speed computers, these people can click buttons like never before, make as much money as they can, even that we can't even dream of. We're in the quadrillions, people. Remember, 70s, millions, maybe bury a billion. So we've gone from millions to billions to trillions to quadrillions, which means that you literally are at, if you wanted to count to a quadrillion, like I've said before, it takes you 31 million years not sleeping. You can't do it. So why is that important? Because they've made so much money, and what did they do with the money? Built Babylon. With Babylon, they control the financial system controls the church, the schools, the media, Hollywood. Anywhere you look, everything is bought and paid for with the not federal, reserve. There are no reserves. Note means it's paper. And so they've used this paper money system to enslave and control humanity. At some point, imagine you have a bubble and you keep blowing a balloon. At some point, when that bubble pops, that pop moment will be the collapse or the fall of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And it will be horrific for those who literally have never believed or listened to us, but don't believe any of this. But ultimately, this collapse is going to shut down the banks as you know them. People who have money, large amounts of money in banks, that money is just going to suddenly disappear because based on the Frank-Dodd Act, which we have discussed before, maybe Andrew can expand upon, but that Frank-Dodd Act makes you a unsecured creditor. You're the last guy standing in line in any financial event. So why do we hold gold and silver? Because Babylon was built with a Federal Reserve note. And so when God intervenes, the Federal Reserve note will lose the status of the world reserve currency. It will collapse. I don't care what anybody says. It will go down this year in the year of Jubilee, and that will suddenly cause gold and silver to explode like we have been talking about. Silver's got a floor in the 29 to 30 range right now. Next target is $60 to $70. Gold's going to 4,000, and that just starts what's about to happen here in the world. It's going to be biblical because we're not living in political times. These are biblical times we're witnessing. And so when Babylon goes down, God's money explodes in value, and those who've been holding it have the greatest insurance policy ever. And that's why they have been sleeping so incredibly well. So Babylon's coming down, whether we like it or not. We cannot stop what God has ordained.
I was asked in Detroit what my thought was, how confident I was that it was going to come down. I said 100%. There's no doubt. I've seen stuff behind the scenes that it's coming. I know from the spiritual realm it's coming. That's why I wanted you to touch on the Babylon system. This is far deeper than just finances and silver and gold and the dollar. This is connected to everything. Hollywood is going to come crashing down in the next couple of weeks. Great exposure. I heard this morning that JP Morgan, Chase, and Wells Fargo should not be sleeping very well right now because there is big exposure coming from both those banks. And you want to touch on the Fed, Andrew, what they're doing with interest rates or not doing with interest rates?
Yeah, there's so much happening here. There's like 5 different things in the first 20 minutes here that are just so huge. It's so huge. But what happened right before we got on this interview, is that the Fed Reserve did what they were expected to do, which was leave the key interest rates right where they're at. So they're at a 23-year high, and they've announced that they will lower them one time before the end of the year. And I don't believe that they will. And if they don't, and it's literally just 6 months from now, if they don't, that alone could send gold up a couple $100 an ounce and silver up many dollars. There's just so many reasons why this is a big deal. Money's not cheap right now. They're making it really hard for people to go out there and borrow money. So that's not a sign of a good economy. It's a sign of us going into a deep recession. And we've talked about gold and silver here. I believe Bo mentioned it a little bit ago, it being a type of portfolio insurance. And that's exactly what it is. We're going into tough times. Everything that we've talked about today alone proves that we're going into tough times. So what I like about gold and silver as a portfolio insurance is that, compare it to car insurance. If I don't crash my car this year, or if I don't damage my car, after 12 months, I don't get my premium back. The insurance company keeps it. But with gold and silver, it is portfolio insurance, and every dollar that you invest into it is still there, regardless of what happens over the course of days, months, or even a year. So it's very important. Even if you don't believe that you need it, have some gold and silver. And this whole thing going on with the Russian warships over in Cuba, this is a big deal. This is like the early '60s during the Cold War, and this is probably this is a big deal, because United States is providing money and weapons to Ukraine, who is in turn using those weapons to be in a war with Russia, and now Russia's putting warships a 3-hour boat ride away from Florida. This is just mind blowing. It really is.
Yeah, you mentioned the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is Cuban Missile Crisis, maybe 2.0 on steroids, because this is far more serious. You got Russia and Venezuela and Cuba right now, and flexing their muscle, and we're that's just one scenario out of many scenarios that are out there that is going to drive the world to a brink. Don't fear, though. God has it, and light wins. However, be prepared. How can they be prepared, Andrew?
Well, you need to be prepared by at least having an emergency fund of gold and silver somewhere where you can get to it. I'm not talking about in a bank, in a safe deposit box there, because to steal Bo's line, you don't have a key to the door. So if the banks are closed because there's a run on banks, you can't get what you have stored there, even though you're not there to get cash. So you want to have it where you can get to it. And sure, we do tell people to put it in a depository, but you need to have some where you live or at your workplace. So definitely reach out, get some of this, and just be prepared. And like Pastor Dave said, God has this. We're going to be fine. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be prepared. So be prepared for anything out there. Get a bunch of food. This would be a time where you go into the market and get those things that you might need and put a little bit away.
Yeah, even people that I never thought would say prepare with food, water, they're saying it. And we need to. I don't know how much water and how much food, but it's good to have at least 3 months worth. But these days are coming. There's going to be the prophetic voices, Bo, are saying it, and the sources I talked to from the military, we're going to have some sort of darkness come, literally.
We have to, because this is a baptism for the United States. Okay. Again, we have to understand the United States was founded. The founding fathers were on their knees. They dedicated the United States to God. So we're a nation founded under God. This is all about covenant. So these crazies that are out there that have bowed down to Satan, because Jesus gets baptized, goes in the wilderness. On the 40th day, Satan starts tempting him, right? And it's like, and what did God, Jesus 3 times in a row, it is written, it is written, it is written. The point of that is that you can't stop what's coming, but these people actually think they're going to beat God. Israel itself is a covenant nation with God. So is the United States. And look at the United States and look at Israel. Israel, how many thousands of years have gone by and it's still, they haven't gotten it yet, right? And because God is standing on the covenant. And so whether the founding fathers are here or not, doesn't matter. The covenant stands forever. And so they can think that they're going to grab the United States. I'm not sure what all the prophetic voices are saying right here, right now. I'm not really paying attention too close, but I'm sure you know, Pastor Dave. But the point people need to understand is the money system has captured everything. But we want to look on a slide deck at page 6, because that literally talks about Mystery Babylon, and Mystery Babylon is controlling everything. So they're using the money. We're seeing all these people being exposed right now, but that's just the outer surface of the onion. The people deep down having this goes back thousands of years. And so Andrew's bringing up the Federal Reserve. Understand, when the dollar loses status the world reserve currency, it's not going to matter what the Federal Reserve says anymore. But you can see from this Mystery Babylon image, they've used the money to pull the purse strings and control the church, the family, education, government, entertainment, media. So all of this is fully captured and controlled using the money. But now let's apply scriptures to that. If you go to slide 8, we've got this prophecy. 2. This is an incredible prophecy on slide 8, because really what I love about it, it's God showing the world he is God, and God wrote the end from the beginning. Because if you look on slide 8, look at it shows you. It shows you the beast, which is Babylon. Mystery Babylon has existed. This for 2,500 years, this prophecy has unbroken. Think about this. Daniel prophesied to Nebuchadnezzar, interpreting his dream, saying Babylon, and then Persia never even existed at the time, and then Persia came to be, and then Greece came to be, and then the Rome came to be, United States came to be. All of this happened over 2,500 years, but it was prophesied at only the time of Babylon. So the last piece I want to show on the fall of Babylon, we're looking at literally slide 24. This is what's about to happen. Slide 24. And it's Daniel 2, verse 34. And it says, while you're watching, a stone carved cut out by no human hand, it struck the statue of its feet of iron and clay and smashed it to pieces. This is what's about to happen. When this event goes down, and it will go down this year, gold and silver explode, and the Federal Reserve note crashes as the world reserve currency, and it doesn't matter what the Fed says anymore. No one's going to listen to them anymore, because their money is now trash.
The Fed is not federal, or there is no reserve, and soon the American people are going to see that. Well, we're going to take a break and be right back after this.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.
And we're back. We're talking about, Andrew was mentioning General Flynn saying that the Russians are only 3 hours away, boat ride, from Florida. This is a moment in time. I also heard that the sharks and dolphins are animals can sense things before they happen, and nobody's completely sure why they're acting strange, but sharks and dolphins are coming right up on the beach in the Florida area. Andrew, you want to touch on this Wells Fargo that you mentioned in the break?
So someone sent me an article about Wells Fargo that said that Wells Fargo now is going digital and going with something similar to a central bank digital currency that's gold backed. So immediately I Googled it, and I found an actual article on wellsfargoadvisors.com dated October 19th, 2023. And it says central bank digital currencies and the future of money. And they have the key takeaways, what it means for investors, what is cryptocurrency, why the name CBDC. And it's very interesting. So if people out there have an opportunity, Google that and look it up, because this is more than a year, or let's see, about 8 months ago, and somehow we missed this. Like we did not have this any sooner. This is the banks telling us that this is exactly what they're doing. It's right there in black and white. This isn't an opinion piece. This is Wells Fargo preparing the depositors and the investors and letting them know what the future of money is. And it's not coins and paper currency. It's going to be a central bank digital currency that's gold backed. And for me, this is such a crystal clear reason to own physical gold. And when I say gold, I don't mean to leave out silver. It's what's good for gold is great for silver. I always believe that. So this is exactly what's going to put gold in the $3,000 to $4,000 for 1 ounce realm, without any doubt. It's I don't know why everybody out there wouldn't want to act on this, because the way that we spend money is changing. It's not going to be the way our parents did, or their parents, or even their parents. This is going to be a completely new way of doing it, and you're going to want to have some gold and silver on hand.
Yeah, so three to 4,000 in gold. What's that mean for silver? I know I ask you guys that every time.
2 years ago, I believe it was, Julie Green had a prophecy that the way we transact is about to change forever. So just let that sink in, and then look what we're talking about right here, right now. Now, one thing I want to expand upon relative to what Andrew was saying. Now, they have their plans, and who is they? Revelation 2, verse 9. They say they are Jews, but they are not. They are from the synagogue of Satan. So you want to first know your enemy. So they say all these things. They control Chase. They control Wells Fargo. It's all their banking institution. They are trying to bring on a central bank digital currency. So why I reference that is because if they bring on a central bank digital currency, which will happen at some point, okay, but the federal plan to do all this is all going to collapse, okay? And the reason is because what Pastor Dave and I are speaking about is God intervening. You see, when God intervenes, their plans collapse. So all the plans that they have fall apart. So the central bank digital currency, as much as they want it to happen, because that is a control system. Why? Because that's the same system being used in China for the credit score system. So they can imply this if you don't say, like Andrew was saying, if you don't say something right, or they want to turn your finances off, you want to, you're spending too much on gas, whatever you do, they can control where you spend your money. They can give you $1,000 and say that needs to be spent at these 2 stores over the next 2 weeks. So they can control all of that. They can do all this. Now, the reason that's a problem is because they're not going to let gold go to 10, 20, 30, $40,000 per ounce, because that would blow up their plans. And so what we're looking for, we're talking about 2 specifically different things. What they plan to destroy the financial system to bring on a central bank digital currency. That's their plan. God's plan's a little different. He's going to let them do it all. They're going to think they won. It's going to get really dark, and it's going to look like everything, it looks horrible. Jesus is in the tomb. Everything is scary and dark, and then God shows up. And then everything that they planned blows up in their face. And then what happens right after that is these people and their plans, this goes down. Ecclesiastes 2, verse 26. To the person who pleases God, he gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. That's why we're here today. We're giving you all of those things. But to the sinner, he gives a task of gathering and storing up. He gives the task to JP Morgan, to Wells Fargo, to all the bankers, the task of gathering and storing up all the gold and all the silver. JP Morgan's got one of the biggest stashes of silver anywhere out there. So he gives them the task of gathering and storing all that up. But then it finishes this way: to hand over to all of those who please God. When God shows up, these people are finished. God is going to destroy their financial system. He's going to destroy their plans for the CBDC. And then Trump comes back to rebuild the financial system. backed by gold and silver. And when he announces that, you are going to see a moonshot in precious metals that you can't even dreamed of. It's going to be so big because the prices that I've been told by several prophets of the prices that are coming are mind-blowing on precious metals. Why? Because God is going to fulfill scriptures, the wealth of the sinner stored up for the righteous. These people are going to lose their funding system. That specifically means how they built Babylon. Babylon falls, God's financial system rises, and their plans for the CBDC and all this stuff, it just blows up in their face. So don't freak about the finances. Just be a wise steward. What has Andrew been saying? What has Pastor Dave been saying? Don't listen to us, but do as we do. And what are we doing? We're simply holding God's money, gold and silver, because we know it's scriptural. And God is going to fulfill what Jesus did in the wilderness. It is written. It is written. It is written. And it is written that the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. It is written that in Deuteronomy that we are to be the head, not the tail. Presently, I'm sure we can all agree here, we are the tail of the financial system.
Yeah, you know what's fascinating about the truly being biblical? I was writing notes down when you were talking, and somebody I don't even know if they're a Christian. They're more secular. Anyway, two key things I took away from that. One, he said there's going to be 100-fold restoration coming. And again, this is not a Bible person. This is somebody of the financial world. And also an intel source says that we may have 3 days of darkness, then the light on the fourth day. That's truly biblical. Amazing.
There's just so much happening this year. We have the election. We have our president has been convicted of a felony, and it's made him even more popular than ever. And he's probably going to win here very, very soon. And it's going to have a ripple effect on the entire world. It's I think all of this is going to be great for us as a nation, and great for us as far as gold and silver. It's a good time to do it. And if it's okay, if we can talk about premiums a little bit.
Yep.
This is the thing that people are asking me about the most. So, Bo, you might remember the last quarter of 2022, silver bottomed out at $18.50 an ounce. People that bought silver eagles then paid anywhere from $15 to $18 per ounce above the price of silver. Now, we weren't selling silver eagles at that time, and even when you did make a purchase at the exact bottom at that time, we opted to go with the silver Philharmonics because the premium was lower. So we're being contacted by a lot of people out there that listen to Gold 2020 forecast, and they're selling back silver eagles for less than what they paid for them in the last quarter of 2022. Now, we're not the ones that sold them to them, but even if we did, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It's just the premium was so high then. So today, the premium is about 1/3 what it was back then. And you couldn't ask for a better situation. With all this happening in the world, you don't have to wait to get your gold and silver, and the premium is lower. So now back to the people that bought in the last quarter of 2022. Some of them have told me, and they've said things like, wow, if I knew that the premium was going to drop so much, wouldn't it have made sense for me to have not bought in the last quarter of 2022 and waited until now? And I tell them, no, like Bo says, stack silver and stack gold as much as you can for as long as you can. And don't get caught up too much in the price that you paid for it today. You shouldn't look to be selling it 1 or 2 years after buying it anyway, and think of it as a long-term hold. This is your retirement. This is your portfolio insurance. And if you can do that, you'll be fine. But if you are going to take a look at a good time, it's now, because the premiums are low and we all know where this is headed.
Think about this for a minute. If somebody has precious metals, the dollar, okay, so let's just go through the scenario. The dollar, which we're describing and which will happen, okay, I'm just telling you, this is going to happen. The dollar will be dethroned as a world reserve currency. We literally just had Saudis agree to not renew the contract. Yep. And you got the ships, nuclear subs off from Russia off the East Coast right now. So all of this is going down. All of these things are happening. So you have to ask yourself, If the dollar is dethroned as a world reserve currency, and you've got gold and silver because you're a wise steward, so you're holding precious metals, gold and silver, why would you want to sell them? What are you going to sell them into? Like, the question is, what are you going to sell them into? Are you going to sell them into what? A dollar that's worthless? That's trash? Like, see, you want, God's going to flip the financial scales. You're holding God's money, and you want to buy back into Babylon? Think about that. The financial system blows up. You've got the greatest thing ever, God's money, gold and silver, and you want to buy back Babylon's money? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You see, because Trump's going to restore the gold standard, you're going to see precious metals blow to prices you can't even imagine before. The world is going to start to transact in precious metals. That's what's coming. So you're already, like we said, you're already in the financial system. You don't want to buy back into Babylon. You want to get out of Babylon. So I just wanted to add that to have people understand. You don't want to buy back into Babylon. You want out of this system because it's a fraud.
Exactly. So to take your point even further and just direct it more at me personally, with gold being at $2,323 right now, if I woke up tomorrow and it was 4,000, if that happened, I wouldn't sell, because like Bo just said, I want to sell it so I can see some bigger numbers on a bank account for a bank that I think could fail any day now. And for dollars that were printed out of thin air, no way. It would be, that makes as much sense as selling your home because the price of it doubled over the last 30 years without buying another home. So now you have nowhere to live and you have a lot more money in your bank. No, I keep my real estate. I keep the gold and silver. And of course, if you have an emergency, that's what it's there for. But really, it's a hedge against your other investments. So for people that own gold and silver, when I say it's a hedge, you probably notice that when your stocks are up, that most of the time, gold and silver won't be up on that day. When your stocks are way down, gold and silver are going to be up that day. What you lose in buying power as far as inflation, you gain back on the increase in the value of gold and silver. Here's one example. I recently saw a report that during the 3.5 years that Biden's been president, the Biden administration says that inflation has hit 20% over that entire time frame. We know it's probably higher than that, but let's just go with that number. So that would mean that when Trump was president, your dollar was worth $1. Now that dollar buys 80 cents worth of goods and services. So you've literally taken a 20% haircut on every dollar that you have sitting in the bank. But if you own gold and silver, in those 4 years, silver's almost doubled in that time. It really has. It's almost doubled in that time. Therefore, you've completely offset what you've lost in buying power and then some. So the numbers don't lie.
Especially IRA or 401k, you're not in a hurry. That's your retirement. You want to let that go. I had two women come up to our booth that bought in that period of time that you were referencing, 18, and they were so tickled to look at their statements that show that they were 50% up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So for me, I spent a bunch of time walking around in Detroit, and I had so many people come up to me and they say, Andrew, we bought from your company, and so did my mother and my sister. Thank you so much for all that you do. And I mentioned this to Bo on a different interview earlier. So here in Beverly Hills, I went to one of my favorite Italian restaurants there, and someone walked up to me while I was waiting for the valet to bring my car, and they said, hey, I know you. And you're on with Bo Polny and Pastor Dave Scarlett all the time. You guys do great work. He says, I don't work with a lot of money, but I have found a local place that I could go and buy $50 or $100 worth of silver every now and then. And I've been buying it regularly. He said, thank you. And I love that, because you don't have to be a client of ours for this to be a good thing. Everybody out there needs to really wake up and understand how this helps. It's estimated that 2% of Americans understand what gold and silver can do for your portfolio. That's it, 2%. If we could somehow push that to 10%, that would completely deplete the available supply of gold and silver, therefore pushing it up vertical, like Bo always says, multiple times over, sometimes in a single day.
That's why people, again, we stress this, that when this run happens, and it's not if, it's when, there's no doubt in my mind this run is coming. You got to make sure that you go with somebody you can trust, because the worst of the worst is going to come out of people. I've already heard some stories where people thought they bought silver and it wasn't silver. And you got to go to somebody that you trust and they have a reputation, because it's going to get crazy when this event happens.
Yeah, I was at your event, Pastor Dave, in Texas, and a lady walked up with a Trump coin, and she goes, "Well, is this thing, going to be great?" I go, "Listen, this is not silver. See, just because you have a picture of Trump on it doesn't mean it's silver. So you need to know what you're buying. So it's especially for people who, a lot of people have grown up, everyone's grown up using the Federal Reserve note, right? So they're not accustomed to buying precious metals. So this is like a new language to them. So you got to go to someone you trust, or whoever it's Andrew or whatever, but you need to someone who's going to sell you silver, not something that's coated in silver or whatever, or some fake stuff. So you got to be careful. You don't want to do the right thing, but have not bought, buy fake silver, buy fake gold, because that's coming, okay? And that's going on right now too. So you got to be very, very careful. If we can pop on page 15, I just want to talk about real timelines real quick that I see coming here in the very, very, very near future. And then we can talk about, precious metals with regards to IRAs and 401ks, and maybe we can finish there. But we really want to look at some timelines real quick here, because today being the 12th of June. Okay, we're almost the middle of June. Next week, the 20th. And so what I really feel in my heart, the 20th is a very important time point. So anytime between now and the 20th of June is the last day of spring, and the 21st begins summer. So I truly believe that I've heard several prophets speak that the wealth transfer, I want to use the word begins in spring. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I just know we're so close. And that's why I really believe this is a moment in time where this is like the final warning that, hopefully people have listened. So now this is interesting. God revealed to me the night before I went on stage with Clay Clark. He goes, count the time between spring and the inauguration. I'm like, okay, well, wait a second. That's exactly 7 months to the exact day. So June 20th to the inauguration of January 20th is exactly 7 months to the exact day. 7 months, not even off by 24 hours. This is wild. And then the crazy part of all of that, if you cut that in half, you get to September, and it's September 23rd. So September 23rd, something I believe biblical could happen. Why? Because we're basically seeing that's a time point where God could intervene a second time in the world, because that's we're really getting into Rosh Hashanah time point in September. And then there's all these videos that have been made about September as well too. And then the Kim Clement prophecy. So I want to play this real quick. It's 1 minute, but I wanted to have everybody hear this. Just to, again, I just want to put pieces together for everybody. And then there's a Kim Clement prophecy about September. So I believe all of this starts in spring now, which then leads to wild stuff going off as the 4th of July hits into about the middle of June, middle of July. So July is going to be wild, but Kim Clement called that strange July. And then we lead into the fall time in September. So listen to this video real quick, and then we can have Andrew finish up here. This is a 1 minute video.
I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see.
In all of these cataclysmic end times related movies, you see this very subliminal but very clear message of September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th.
Watch and see, for God says beginning in September, I will turn everything around, and my people shall see an intervention of a kind that they have never seen before.
So there it is. Beginning in September, you will see an intervention of a kind you've never seen before. So no one knows how this is going to go down. It is God's secret. But I just want to tell people, if you're holding God's money, silver and gold, it's supposed to start in spring. Now it's supposed to start. Wild July. And then come September, God's going to do something even more incredible. So, Andrew, can people still get precious metals? Talk about 401ks, IRAs. How quick and how fast can all this go down?
Yeah, absolutely. So people should know that yes, you can roll over a 401k or an IRA into a precious metals IRA, and the costs are just a couple $100 a year. Maybe about $250 in the first year, $200 a year after that. And this is not a taxable event. And this doesn't require for you to get mountains of paperwork and fill out all this stuff. We do it all for you. We just set up an onboarding call with you and the IRA custodian that we use. They'll already have your information, and they initiate the transfer from your existing custodian to them to fund your account in order to get gold and silver with it. So it's actually a quick and easy process, and we've probably got the best system in place out of any company out there to do so. But what I like now, and to answer your question, Bo, is that metals are readily available right now. Okay, the final quarter of 2022, they weren't. That's why the premiums were so high. Right now, the metals are available and the premiums are fairly priced, and it's a good time to get your product without having to wait too long for it to be shipped. So reach out to us at bh-pm.com. Again, that's bh-pm.com. Say that Gold 2020 forecast or that Bo sent you. And in the notes section, just put in some notes there. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot of are how can I roll over a 401k into a precious metals IRA and have it be a non-taxable event? You can do that. And if you put that in there, I'll get you over to our IRA department. It's important. Get it while you can, get it while it's cheap. And it's definitely cheap right now.
Well, I expect to see text messages from both of you here in the next few days that, oh my gosh, we're over 33. What do you think, Bo?
When this event goes down, I'll say again, you better be 2 years early than 1 day late, because when it goes down, all the dealers are going to shut their doors. It's going to be a wild ride. So I really hope people have done something, because again, we are just here to give people knowledge on the financial system, which is a complete and utter fraud. They create money out of thin air. And if you're comfortable with that, again, it's all about free choice, free will, and people can do whatever they want. But we are here to tell you specifically the financial system is a fraud, and so obvious right now. That financial system is built upon air, and they're using that air to enslave everybody, and God has had enough. It's about to go down. It's going to be wild, and I'm sure we'll be texting each other this next few days, few weeks on things that are manifesting here on this earth. We've got Russian ships off the U.S. coast. It's wild what's about to go down.
Well, just think about that. Go back to 2 years, 2.5 years. I don't know how long it's been that we've been doing this, but a long time. The things that are happening in the natural now are absolutely mind blowing compared to what we were talking about 2.5 years ago. It's happening, literally.
It is. I remember the biggest point that we drove home about 2.5 or 3 years ago was just inflation. That's it. We were mostly just talking about inflation. Then we caught wind of the CBDCs coming. Then what happened with Ukraine and now Israel. So it's not getting better. It's definitely not. We know that we're going to be fine, but we got a lot of work to do as far as protecting what we have in the meantime.
Light wins. God has it. Light wins. Andrew and Bo, once again, a great opportunity to get people up to date. It was good seeing you both in Detroit. And God is going to show a Red Sea moment here any minute. I just can feel it. Not only do I know it, but I can feel it too. In the spiritual realm, it's ready to go. Boom. I'll let you guys have 20 seconds.
I'll just mention this. If God is with us, who can stand against us? We win, and it's going to be biblical. So I really hope people listen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. We'll see you both on a text message. God bless you, and go.